This is Kathy Penapento, and I'm here to give you a short in-service on sitting at the bedside during the bedside vigil for our residents that are actively dying. Why this training is so important is that we have a need. And the bedside vigils, and I'll get to it a little bit with the purpose, but we want to ensure that no one dies alone. And of course, we have opened it up to all the caregivers, not just the people, the volunteers that took the end-of-life doula training. It's all caregivers. And I really welcome you to sit a bedside vigil. We need more hands, and again, it's all about teamwork. To be able to sit at the bedside during this intimate time, to be there for support for the resident, but also as the family. It's a very humbling, beautiful experience to be there, and the shifts are only 3 hours, but I just encourage you to just try a few bedside vigils and see if this is where your cup of tea is, as we have definitely a big need for this. Especially our regular caregivers that come on their shifts, they're there to provide the medicines and more the physical care. Here you are there holding space to be able to be a support and an advocate for our resident that's dying, but also to support the family. So let's just talk and go to the my little handout that I've been tweaking a lot here. And again, this is the end-of-life doula role during the vigil. And according to this handout, and I will have this handout also at Crossroads House, so you'll be able to have a hard copy then too. But I just really want to focus on a few different important areas. We want to give you the tools, and we want you to feel confident in sitting at bedside to provide that holding space for our dying resident. Okay, the person that is going to be sitting at bedside, when you're there, and you're to be a support to the resident and to the family, but again, to ensure that no one dies alone. So you will be having your eyes all around that room. You need to go with your gut feeling as what is important and what needs to be done to support both the family and the resident. You may make a suggestion on how to engage the family, or you may be just there for quiet presence, holding a hand, incorporating the plan of care for the bedside. There is no right thing. Each caregiver has their own sense of what is needed at that moment, and you just really need to go with your gut based on what you see, what you feel by the body language, okay? Again, a doula or caregiver who is sitting at bedside vigils, intuition will always mostly be right. They say woman's intuition. Well, it's for men's intuition too. Okay, the caregiver will, and you all have the amazing capacity to do exactly what is the right thing. But pre-planning this bedside vigil has already been done by the lead doula and by some of the other caregivers that have been connected to this resident. So it's important for you to have in front of you the bedside vigil plan of care, so you know what this family and what this resident wants during the active dying process, since they're unable to speak for themselves. So who calls the bedside vigil? Well, myself or one of the nurses that is in charge. And we have criteria to know when it is the appropriate time to call the bedside vigil. You will get a code red message. You'll probably get maybe a text message that we're starting bedside vigil for an individual. So we have the schedule on the when to help. And if you are not signed up for the when to help, please get a hold of Emily and she can get you signed up and walk you through that process, okay? So again, when you start your bedside vigil shift, I need for you to arrive like 10 to 15 minutes early before your scheduled shift. And again, it's just a 3-hour shift. And that's what I ask for all volunteers to do, is to come in 10 minutes, 15 minutes before your scheduled shift. Gives you a chance to just get report and get yourself acclimated. What I need for you to do is to go to the caregivers that are there presently caring for the dying resident and get report. Find out, excuse me, what has been an issue. Has it been pain? Has it been anxiety? Is it end-stage restlessness? You know, and find out when the last medication was given too. So this way, again, you're taking in as much information to ensure that this person who is dying is comfortable. And if they had their morphine 4 hours ago and you come on your vigil shift and you see they're uncomfortable, then you just let the caregivers know so they can properly medicate for good symptom control management. So then, after you get report from the caregivers there, you need to get report for the doula or the caregiver that's sitting bedside vigil before they leave. So, but again, what's important is that person who's sitting at bedside vigil is already journaling what's happening. The family interactions, some of the medications, some of the signs of the disease progression, the dying process and that. So it's important that you read the journal, but also look at the plan of care and also look at the spiritual assessment if there's a spiritual assessment. So there's a lot of information that you're going to receive. Also, what we'll have in that information with the journal are all the notations and the documentation that we had in the chart, in the doula section part of the chart, you know, on different family dynamics. Talk about the family conference and that. We'll also have the assessment sheet in there as to different fears and their special wishes as well. So there's a lot of reading information that you'll be able to have access to. So then once you get report on the one you're relieving, then you start your vigil. I know myself, I need to prepare myself to get myself comfortable. And in the car, before I come in to do a bedside vigil, I'll do mindful meditation, where I'll just work on my breathing just to shift gears. So I am in that level where I will be able to receive all calmly and take it all in. It's not like I'm running around with my head cut off. You need to be in the proper frame of mind to be able to be open to hold space. So then when you go in, you introduce yourself to the resident. This may be the first time you're meeting the resident or the family members. And this is why it's so important for regular caregivers to sit bedside vigil, because you know that resident, you know that family. So you have that interaction already. So it makes sitting vigil so much easier and such an honor to be there at the bedside. I like to scan the room for a quick assessment. I like to get the medical supplies out of the way, check to see if the aromatherapy is being used, the proper lighting and that. So again, you need to read the end-of-life plan of care for the bedside vigil. Because that's the resident's wishes, and we're there to incorporate the resident's wishes when they are unable to speak for themselves during the active dying process. So I always like to ensure the sacredness of the room. Enter the room with reverence and respect in a very calm and approachable manner. Soft smile. You know, you don't go in barging in, hey, how you doing? This person is dying, you know. It's sort of like going into church. You have that reverence. I mean, there is someone who's going to be leaving this world, and you need to treat it with respect and love and dignity. Make sure the lighting is appropriate according to what the resident wanted. The different sound, maybe they wanted the hymns being read to them. Maybe they wanted the hymns on for music. The smell could be the aromatherapy. Some people want brownies smell, bacon in the oven, or bread baking, to make sure that the resident is comfortable. And if you feel as though that they're not comfortable, use your gut level and tell the caregivers so they can maybe reposition or give them medication for comfort. And make sure your family is comfortable too. And if they're not comfortable and at peace, you're there to help support them and find ways on how you can get them comfortable. Maybe just bringing in Rosie's tea cart with some coffee and some cookies will just alleviate that anxiety that maybe the family is going through. Sometimes family members don't want to sit at the bedside, and we need to appreciate that. But getting them engaged somehow, and you'll know how to engage the family. Some people don't even want to come in the room, and that's okay. We need to respect their wishes. We're educating the family that their dying loved ones still can hear, and that is so important, because some conversations that our families have really shouldn't be in the room. They should take them outside, because even when they're in a deep coma and even within minutes from death, they still can hear. Also, the medical and personal hygiene items, like I said, the medical stuff is all out to the side. Any kind of materials that this resident who is dying wanted, like maybe they want Bible readings, maybe they want, the family wants to read a book to them, you know, that maybe then grandma might have read to the kids, and now the roles are reversed there. So all them support comfort materials should be close by. Get the medical stuff out of the way. Also, journals. I encourage a family to journal. It's an important time. They're exhausted. They've gone through so much. And writing down their thoughts, or who came to visit, or what was important, is really it's a relief for them to write down their feelings, but also to look after the death, and because they won't remember everything, because they've been in this sort of fog and going through everything here. So encourage journaling if that's that might be something that they would like to do. Special words of comfort may be appropriate. I know my special words that I like to say to our residents is, may you be filled with light, may you be free of all suffering, and may you be at peace. And especially when they're just struggling, it's sort of like labor, you know, dying process and labor is so similar, and it's hard work. And sometimes they just need some of that, the special words or guided imagery is very important then too. And also too, your role is to maybe diffuse some family conflict. Take them outside the room, because we want to maintain the sacredness of the room. Know the end-of-life plan of care. You know, what comfort measures were important to the resident. Know how much touch they wanted. Some people don't want their feet touched, you know. Sometimes when we're massaging for an hour and then the other doula comes in and they're massaging, probably that person who can't speak is saying, please don't touch me anymore. So that's why the report from one caregiver at the bedside to another is very, very important. Know the noise level they wanted. People die the way they lived. And if they like a lot of people, they may want a lot of people talking. What's important to me is that a lot of times family members will go off in a corner and they'll start talking about their vacations and they forget about the person that's dying. This is the time to bring them back in and share the memories and bring them close together and reminisce on all the memories they had with their loved one who is dying. Know if pets or children are desired during the vigil, any guided imagery, any rituals. You know, some people will want maybe a letter read, and they'll write a letter before they die, and this letter would be read when after the death, or any kind of special clothes that they want to be in. And after the death, we always do a partial bed bath with essential oils, and you'll be involved in that if you're comfortable doing that. And of course, even inviting the family if that's something that they would like to do. They may want some special religious artifacts, a rosary or a cross, any special blankets they want. And also any different legacy projects that maybe were started, that maybe wants to be close at the bedside there too. It's important to know the signs of impending death, okay? Keep track of their breathing, their respirations and pulse, and keep the family up to date. You know, explain to them why you're checking their knees and their legs and the temperature of their feet, you know. And as the dying process continues, they're going to have some probably modeling at the kneecaps, some cyanosis or modeling, especially in the bottoms of the feet, and cold extremities. And a comfort measure that I like to do with that is to get them warm packs, throw them in the microwave and wrap their feet, especially when you're cold. You don't want to be cold. And that provides comfort then too. Also, your job is to read what's in the journal, but also to document. And it's just a great journal because we use that in the reprocessing to bring up all that had happened during the bedside vigil, which is very helpful to the family. A lot of times the family doesn't realize that they're doing so much. And the person that's sitting at the bedside vigil will say, well, geez, the family was in there reminiscing about a certain vacation and how then the resident was responding. She calmed right down. She seemed to be in tune and understand, and her eyebrows would raise. That's important things that the family needs to hear after the death that we do in the reprocessing. Again, be flexible. Things change very quickly. Things come up that maybe weren't addressed before, so just again, go with your gut level there. Know when to prompt the family, know when to engage the family, read their body language. Body language, 85% of communication is body language, so read their body language. Again, trust your gut. You can leave the room for a short period of time as long as you know someone is there sitting at the bedside. So again, ensuring that no one dies alone. And you may want to talk to maybe a son that's staying in the kitchen, doesn't want to go in the room, and just check to see how they're doing and give that person support then too. And ask the family how they're perceiving this dying journey. I just did a bedside vigil for a good friend of mine 2 weeks ago. And the family was just amazed. They go, oh my goodness, I hate to say this, but this is a beautiful experience. And I encourage the family to go in behind closed doors to be able to give their loved one permission to let go, but also to talk about what you learned from your loved one and what legacy will be carried on, that they weren't forgotten and that they did make a difference in the world. And those conversations gave so much peace to the family, and maybe some of them haven't had them important conversations. So encouraging that, and then allowing the family privacy for that as well. Engaged presence is of utmost importance, and that's what we call holding space. Okay, and you can read this, the dualists stay in touch with what is happening around them by observing everything and by staying connected to the intuitive part of their minds. It means opening to what is happening in that moment. The caregiver focuses the beam of attention on any activity that they are doing with the dying person or family. At the same time, they stretch their awareness wider to capture what is happening beside the immediate focus. It is holding this split screen-like focus as much as possible that allows the caregiver to slip into the state of mind of presence. When a person is fully present in this way, they bring all of themselves, especially their intuitive instincts, into the moment. Being fully present, the caregiver will feel an inner stillness and openness. And this was taken from Henry's book on the doula approach. Again, we're open to the present moment. We leave our agenda alone. We make eye contact with the residents and with the family, and then gaze off, and then just observe what's going on in the room. But when you're talking in a very calm, soothing voice, and it doesn't have to be very loud, but you want to make sure that the family doesn't have a hard of hearing issue. Okay, allow your voice to communicate warmth, speak in soft tones, and don't hurry to respond. You stay on the topic on what the family is talking about. and don't talk about yourself and other past experiences. And you want to make sure you're understanding the communication for what the family is saying. So active listening. Active listening is being able to hear everything that they're saying. Allow silence. You may have to ask a few questions to clarify that you understand what they're saying, but you're not thinking about how you're going to respond, because then you're not listening. You need to be able to listen actively with 2 ears. And allow the family to maybe problem solve or come up with any solutions if there are any issues there at all. And we just offer guidance when appropriate. But awareness of the uniqueness of every family individual, and every family has dysfunction. So we have to be there in a non-judgmental, calm, supportive atmosphere. And also declaring death. When someone takes their last breath, you need to make sure that they are not breathing for 2 full minutes, which means there's the rise and fall of one of the chest, of the belly, is 1 respiration. If there is no rise in chest for 2 minutes, then you can declare, I'm sorry, he or she is gone. That's when I turn the oxygen concentrator off. I take the nasal cannula off if they're using oxygen, and I offer my sympathies, and I give the family their time, okay? But when, after 2 minutes with no breathing, you need to look at your watch and say, okay, they died at 10:20, whatever. That's the time that the nurse will put on for the death certificate. And again, allow privacy. And then after the family has their privacy, a lot of times they come out of the room, they start making phone calls. This is the time when the people who are sitting vigil and the caregivers will give a partial bath with essential oils, tidy up the room. I like to put, maybe if it's a man, their aftershave lotion on a pillow, or like if it's a woman, I like to sprinkle lavender essential oil on the pillowcase. And then that's the time when you dress the resident that had died in the special clothes that they wanted, if they chose to do that. So I know I gave you a lot, but we really encourage you to be a caregiver that will sit bedside vigil. We need you, especially now with shortage of volunteers and our snowbirds are getting ready to leave. And it's a beautiful experience to be there. And you might feel uncomfortable, and if you want someone to mentor you and be with you for your first time, we could do that. You just let us know, okay? Let the lead doula know, and then we can accommodate you. We want you to feel confident in this role then. So again, I will have hard copies at the Crossroads House, and I encourage you to really think seriously about fulfilling this role. Thank you.